include is to make sure that the language in the comp plan is very definitive. It's not that loose language of, you know, may, or it ought to be definite, particularly when it comes to ensuring, shalls and everything. I think that needs to be something across the board. The other thing I hope will be across the board is equity in terms of the food insecurity in the city that we write into the plan. Something that really details and mandates that there has to be sufficient grocery stores and places for folks across all wards to do something. I think that's really important. And it was what the last point I wanted to make, and I got shouted down when I brought this up at a meeting before, but I want to put it on the table for everybody to consider, is with all the development that's in the city, all these high rises and everything, we know that the vacancy rate is still very high, even in all of those. And I was told, where I was shouted down, I was told it's a tax benefit for the developers. Yes. So what you need to know is that all this development that's happening, even with all these high rises, it's in their interest to keep a lot of it vacant. We have people who need housing, and we need to have a way to make sure that, you know, with all the vacant housing that's there, that it's not for the tax benefit of the developers, but that if we're trying to ensure that people have housing, the vacant parts of all of the development that's in the city could probably house a lot of the people who don't have homes, even if they pay affordable, whatever affordable is. What they pay would be more than empty. So, you know, I think we need to build that in.
Yes. They don't have to pay that for them.
The gentleman approached during the fact that he's had his hand up for a very, very long time.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Thomas Houston, and I just want to go back to that collaboration point. Past 2 years, like, the word equity has been thrown around the city, and like most people don't know what it is, let alone how to operationalize it. And so I would really have an ask for you all. I know there's like a little bit of time left, but can we pick 1 to 3 policies that the ASBs across the city would support? And like, not after the February deadline, but at that point, if it's not in writing, it's not getting in the plan. So can we support 1 to 3 policies, particularly around the health, education, and housing, that all the ASBs could support, and in that way, the finger is on the city council now to say, yeah, they're going to put it, and if they don't, then as a city, now we can all go back, and to me, like, that's equity, if for partnership, if we're all saying, we specifically want these 1 to 3 policies. The question, would you all be willing to go back to your ANCs and support for the next 2 weeks, picking 1 to 3 ideas that we collectively want to put forward this policy in the comp plan?
So I'll address that really quickly because I know there's lots of questions. One of the things that we're doing, I can't commit to doing it across the city because there's just not enough time, but what we are doing is sharing our resolution across all the commissions in ANC 7E. Ward 7. And we've asked all the other commissioners to do the same because what we do want to make sure is that there's a consistency around key areas. So we'll be doing it, but we'll be doing it at the Ward 7 level and not across the entire city. But great idea.
I think there is an opportunity for all of us to kind of come together on certain issues. For example, today, I talked to a commissioner in Ward 3, which is the Georgetown area, American University area, and they were concerned with University of DC being in Ward 3. A lot of the students there don't live in Ward 3. There's not a lot of transportation in that area. They believe it will be more properly be in Ward 8, where it will be easier to get to. And so, although Ward 2 and other commissions may not be involved in that, hearing that from a Ward 3 commissioner is a great opportunity for Ward 8 and Ward 3 to put pressure together on all of the city council, because there are at-large council members. We're always concerned about our own ward council members. They're at-large that are supposed to oversee everything. Another opportunity for all commissioners to get involved with is the idea of taxation without representation. Right now, Washingtonians are the only Americans that live in a non-state that pay federal income taxes. And we don't get what we put in. For example, 20 years ago, we went to war in Iraq. Washingtonians paid millions of dollars in tax dollars, but we didn't have an official congressional say in it. And I personally believe we should be able to not pay until we have a say. I'm running for higher office, but those are some things that I believe that all the commissioners, because this is an issue that affects people in Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, that we all can come together and talk about.
in response to that. I see that's strategy. I like that, you know, all ANCs in the city to decide on something. That's strategy that can influence policy. And see, now that would be, you know, if the ANCs were, see, different elements are going to be different to different people depending on different parts of the city. And so what would probably have to happen eventually is ANC commissions, because we've done solidarity resolutions with 1D, and so it's not a novel idea, but different demographics are going to have different considerations for elements, exactly, because health and wellness, maternal infant death in Eastern River versus Ward 3, where they have enough hospitals, they're not going to demand that kind of equity, so I like your collaborative spirit with that.
I agree with everything that's been said.
Yes, I have at least two concerns. One, the quality of the product that's going.
Hold it closer.
The quality of the product being put out. Who was there when this big, massive comp plan? Who was at the table when this 1,500 comp plan was put out? And also the statements from the ANCs that they were involved very late in the process. I'm wondering, is legal action against the city being considered? Because I'd rather have the comp plan scrapped and then start all over the proper notification than to put out a plan just because of time concerns. That's the question was to you all.
I think that's a great idea. I do too. I think that the citizens of this city should sue the government of the city about this process.
Hello?
Yep. It's criminal. It's criminal. And I think there should be press. I think there should be national press on this. You know what I mean? We have lots and lots of people, reporters from all kinds of publications, that what is happening in Washington, D.C. is criminal. And it's fine. So litigation, I think, is a good thing.
So I might have an opposing view on this. I definitely think that the comp plan can address a lot of needs that are immediate and need to be taken into consideration now. There's so many facts that you could rant off that our communities are hurting, and the comp plan seeks to address that. So even if it does go to get scrapped through litigation, at least now is a good time to bring up the infant mortality rate that is across the river that's definitely higher. Those are conversations that the comp plan is reinvigorating and re-bringing up to the rest of DC. Not just that issue, but tons of different issues. So I think that now the community outreach problem, that has been a continued issue. It is very hard to hear what residents want and what they will need. So that is a complete breakdown, a complete failure, but I do think we need this. I think we do need to have some sort of guidance, and I wish it was delayed and where the community would feel like they are heard. But I hear you there. If you're not heard, you don't want to continue the process. So.
If you're not included.
Yeah, I don't think there is anything that is standing in the way of our elected leadership creating and implementing good policies. The comp plan is not standing in the way of that. There are not amendments that are critically needed. There are amendments, frankly, that are critically needed, but I haven't found them. They're not the amendments that are being proposed in many cases. So I think public participation trumps and any sort of narrative that there's something missing, that we can't have a fair and inclusive city unless we make these changes.
So who was sitting down to create the comp plan? Does anyone know who wrote it?
Office of Planning.
Office of Planning. Oh, because we're running short on time, I can do 2 more questions.
right here. What I'd like to tie in is the element of the historical preservation, i.e. in Ward 7, the Integrated Design Electronic Academy. They took the name of George Carver down off the school because the people in that ANC and the stakeholders, whether they happen to be the churches, whether they happen to be the businesses, the names, and I'm wanting to include the historical names, and some people missed it, even the 12th Street bar that they call Thurgood Marshall. I appreciate Thurgood Marshall, but Thurgood Marshall is actually from Baltimore more predominantly. It's Reverend Boyne who established that, and I would hope that in your resolutions, and when we go down to deal with the council members, which is really the big dog, is not the little dog, that we actually deal with the historical continuity. Nanny Helen Burroughs said to us, and I'll just sit down on this, we're beholden to the past, we're living in the present, building the future. Women builders. Thank you. I live in Ward 8, and I'm from a stakeholder, Southeast Tabernacle Baptist Church, which basically owns or influences a block in Ward 8, and we also have the Reverend W.W. Blood Way. We hope that people can do that in their respective places. Thank you.
In reply to, got turned on.
It's not on.
It's not on. I'm Jean Stewart from Ward 1, and I just want to say that the existing comp plan, as in the existing comp plan that was developed in 2006, which Commissioner McWood explained was developed from a grassroots up process as opposed to what's going on now, which is top down. It seems to me that there are so many really good concepts in the existing comp plan with just some updates needed, and that's really where we need to go instead of what OP is doing. And one of the things we should all press for with the City Council is some way of detaching OP from reporting to the Deputy Mayor for Economic Development, which is one of the big problems because OP is not an independent entity. It does what the developers want.
Can I say something?
I wanted to say also, this process, this comp plan process, the city didn't tell us what did work. And they didn't give us data on what did work out of this document that you want us to edit and draft and make comments on. You see what I'm saying? So, that too.
I just want to support what the good pastor said about the empty, uninhabited units in the District of Columbia. I'm Robin Diener, sorry, from Ward 2. The American Community Survey, which I understand is a wholly owned subsidiary of the U.S. Census, reports 30,000 uninhabited units in the District of Columbia. If that is true, then this whole plan is ridiculous and needs to be thrown out because it's 100% built on growth and it sacrifices green space and education and everything else that growth requires, and it's not even true. So, I mean, how would you feel about that, Commissioners? I'm sorry, I'm just reporting what I've read from the American Community Survey, which is under the American Census, the U.S. Census. If that's true, if these units are owned by foreign entities, they're not being lived in because that's not their purpose to live in these things. And so there is, for some people, a tax benefit, but mostly it appears to be foreign money, and Elizabeth Warren has a plan for it. But anyway, that's, if that is true, we've all been had over the last 20 years.
Thank you, Rob. So why don't we have this be your last response and close out, and maybe in closing out, commissioners, you can ask us as constituents how we can help serve you in your service to us, particularly on this comp plan process, okay? So maybe make a last response and close out with that. Thank you.
Robin's comment is well taken, but it's even worse than that. According to CoStar, which the DC Office of Revenue Analysis through the Office of the Chief Financial Officer.
It's on there. This one.
Is it on?
This one.
Can you?
Yeah.
It's not loud. Go ahead. Keep talking.
According to the DC Office of Revenue Analysis, we have more units, new units, than we need for the population and for the population growth that's projected over the next couple of years. I think most of you already know. Okay, now this is on. We have more new units than we have demand for units. And the DC Office of Revenue Analysis prognosticators, independent of the Office of Planning, have been saying since 2018 that the population growth is not keeping up with the supply, that we've got more supply than we have demand. And this notion that the population is growing by 1,000 people every month, it is not true. It's not been true since 2013. And I'm not going to give you all the data right now, but the data exists. This scenario and this narrative that we have an urgent need to create market rate housing is not supported by the data. The urgent need is at the 0 to 50% income level, and private developers are not building that housing. All of these amendments in the comprehensive plan are primarily, when you're talking about housing, they are primarily aimed at streamlining their ability to build more market rate housing. So we've got to be very careful that we don't get mired in all the details and the sidetracks, and we stick to the main themes.
So I would say, right, with the housing piece, the market is flooded with luxury units. There's no housing crisis in DC. There are empty units in those cities, neighborhoods that they build, Navy Yard, Southwest, all those empty units. That's foreign money parked here. And so, that's all markets, international money. It's a manufactured reality what they're telling you about housing in DC. Homeless people could be housed. There's plenty of housing. Right. It's the same in San Francisco. It's the same in LA. It's the same in New York. It's the same in DC. I would say that as far as getting involved, we have to create a movement that says no. There's a lot of different things that activists and people that are interested in are doing great things in different areas. But as far as getting behind a really equitable and diverse city, takes strategy and work, and it takes work. But I would say, at least come to the ANC meetings. Bring a friend. Make a commitment to go to your ANC meeting, and then bring a friend, and then bring another friend, and that kind of thing. And because all politics is liberal. This is it.
Let me just add in response to Chris's question. Come to Ward 3, because I'll tell you, the Smart Growth coalitions are saying that they are speaking for you, that they are speaking for low-income people around the city. They are not. You need to come to Ward 3. You need to make your presence known, and you need to explain to all the Ward 3 residents who want, in many cases, to do the right thing. You need to tell them what reality is.
Which is is if we build more housing, the rents will go down. It's not gonna happen. If the market, corrects itself, maybe, but no, that's not true.
In terms of engagement, I definitely would say most ANC commissioners, you'll be able to get a one-to-one with them. I'm always down to have a coffee with anyone on any issue. That's what we're here for. Twitter, please come to a meeting. I know some ANCs, either by will or by force, are now doing live streaming, so you can stay at home in your PJs or cook dinner and still be able to comment on what's going on at the meeting. So definitely get involved in that way. Unfortunately, it takes time and resources to get involved in politics. And so we're trying, or it's my job and our job to make it more accessible. And so I would say I can help you as much as possible, and I'm sure these fine folks are as well. But it is difficult. Bring a friend, encourage your friends to come. They're not always the most insightful or exciteful, but it's definitely helpful.
So I want to answer the question that was asked around the number of units that are vacant. For me as a commissioner that's had to vote on matters related to housing, specifically in the last year or so, I would be very upset and would feel as if a fast one was pulled over on me as a commissioner to have to support certain initiatives, specifically a permanent supportive housing project being built. And being told that this is the best way that the city can service these homeless individuals that currently don't have a place to go. Now, if you're telling me that there are 30,000 units in this city that are vacant, then there should be no individual in this city that is homeless that does not have a place to live. And so I would be very upset, especially from a personal standpoint. My mother was displaced. My mom could no longer afford to stay in this city. And that upsets me as a fourth-generation Washingtonian because my mom did not have the provisions to be able to purchase the home that we were renting as a kid. So it's very upsetting. And I think that in terms of moving forward, how we ensure we apply pressure around these aspects of housing, the lie was told to us that if we build more units, that costs would stabilize and would go down. The units have been built. Costs have not stabilized. The cost continues to be increased for rent. And so I think that I'll put it out there and say this amendment to the comprehensive plan really is to bypass great weight. The Office of Planning, BZA, they don't want the ANCs to be able to have great weight because there's a big fight that's ensuing amongst developers, ANCs, and communities. And so they want to take the voice of the people out of the decision-making process. And so that is why it's very important for us to really be strategic about ensuring we're submitting our comments, and that submitting the comments is not the place that we stop at. But I would be very interested to find out if that 30,000 units being vacant in our city is something that is a reality, because if it is, somebody owes us some answers, and there's some people that need to be placed in housing today.
Yes.
Can I get everybody to pull out their smartphone? I'll give you my phone number. 202-455-6346. 202-455-6346. One last time. 202-455-6346. Text me your name, your email, and all of the things that we got going on around the comp plan. We'll send it to you. Salim. S-A-L-I-M. Right? And so then this way, we can still engage specifically, definitely for Ward 8, but also on the citywide. And then that way we can share that with some of the other commissioners within our network, where we need everybody's input. So that number for the last time is 202-455-6346. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. Janice Fairview, C2FOA. I would like to recommend that, as some of my fellow commissioners said, come to meetings, join a committee. I'm chair of the Public Space and Transportation Committee. So you don't have to have run for office to have something to say. You know, I have a full committee of individuals who, most of them are able to be there, and when they're not, you know, we have subcommittees. But just get involved in some way, like you're here today, and then stay in touch, you know, however your commission is able to keep you in touch, whether it's email. Get on the mailing list. Let them have a way to get in touch with you. And then also stay engaged. Like I said, you know, because this is my first involvement with the comp plan, I'm finding out a whole lot of information, and there's a lot of misinformation out there that we are finding out about. Staying in touch with people and organizations like Empower DC, because we do not take advantage of the power of these numbers. I'm on the DC rent control, the DC union, rent control union. We have power in numbers, and we can sit and complain all the time. But if we do not come out in numbers, we should be storming the council, but just stay engaged. Stay engaged after February 14th when this is due, and stay in the commission's face, because things are going on behind closed doors that we never know about until afterwards, and sometimes we don't even know about. But stay engaged, and stay engaged with your commissioners, and keep them accountable. Keep them accountable, because all of them are not about the work of the people of this city. So keep them accountable as well. Thank you.
So again, my name is Delia Houshill, and I'm with ANC 7E. First, I want to thank Empower DC for hosting this forum. I also want to thank all of you for just showing up and being actively engaged. And would totally like to just encourage you to continue being engaged. I definitely want to echo what my colleague, Commissioner Farabee, just noted. Engagement is going to be critical, right? Even though we're submitting these resolutions, the fight doesn't stop there, right? And so we'll need you to kind of sort of serve as our voice when we go to the council. We'll need you to send emails and all of those sorts of things that, you know, will be required to make sure that what we put in the plan is realized, right? And also, and just in terms of what you can do to help out with the planning process, what I tell my constituents is just close your eyes and envision what you want to see your community look like in 10, 20, 30 years. And whatever you see, send that to us in an email. It could be a short sentence, right? Just send it to us. Our email address is 7e@anc.dc.gov, and I better slow it down. 7e@anc.dc.gov, and you can also find out all of our information on the ANC website. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys again. My name is Dr. Oye from 8E01. There's a couple of things we all can do. As ANC commissioners, we need to get out of our own silos. We need to collaborate with each other. A lot of things I've learned from ANC, whether it's cell phone towers being put in our words, came from somebody else, and it allowed me to learn a lot. Number two, from the community. We need you guys to support your community, join a committee. Most importantly, demand more from your commissioners. This role can be as powerful as you want it to be, but also as powerless if you don't make us be better. And lastly, when you find an ANC that does good work, support them, because a lot of us are running for other positions. Some commissioners are running for school board of education, some of us running for council member. I know I'm running for U.S. representative because I really want to fight for our taxation without representation. So if you see someone doing good work, support them, tell people about them, because a lot of us have higher roles, and at the same time, be demanding of them. So even if they're not rise to higher levels, they're doing the work that you want them to do.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Booth again. It's up to them if they want to stay until the end, but we do end at 4 o'clock, so we're just going to power right through. Hey y'all, we're still having a meeting. I'm sorry. So Chris is gonna. Okay, yeah. So we're still in the meeting. So Chris is gonna talk next. So please, everyone, let's quiet down so Chris can go.
Okay, commissioners, can I invite you guys to join the audience if you'd like? Really appreciate you. Okay, another round of applause for our ANC. Remember, your ANC commissioners are volunteers, folks. They need our help. As a former commissioner myself, I relied on the people who supported me to get out the flyers, to get out the notices, to get out the word of how the mayor was trying to impose stuff on us. And without my neighbors helping us, we can't do the work. So that's why we're here today. We're going to help our ANCs put stuff in this comp plan that will affect us for the next 20 years, right?
And take a look at this letter, guys, because my resolution, because I didn't talk about it a lot because I was kind of nervous, but it actually is a great example of a collaborative, because I cared about Great Weight. We used Great Weight. I got this on there to say, please extend the deadline for the comp plan. You know, it was a solidarity and it was a principle, but and part of it was the language access. So one of my commissioners is very, very bright and interested in education and language. So we collaborated and came up with this letter. And this goes to the mayor, and a great way. It goes directly to the mayor and to the Office of Planning. So we do have
Commissioner Edmondson, can we, if you signed up at the table today, can we email this out to you?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
excellent. So be sure to sign in and you will get this letter.
Sure.
Okay. Already prepared list of all the ANCs so that when people write it, we have to look up all those addresses, one that, and
We have that, we can share it, sure, Reverend. It's also, if you go to anc.dc.gov, you can get all your ANC contact info there. Yeah, so let me just put this, if you go, did everybody grab this sheet? This is one of, there's a big packet of information you all got. So, this is like comp plan, where to go. You see this? Okay. So on this is anc.dc.gov. That's where you can get your ANC information, okay? And also, sorry, I thought you were asking where you can get the info.
if there was a way for us to be able to have something where we could just hit a link and we can send something out to every agency, that's what I was asking.
I'm not sure.
Instead of having like, I can, every agency or something, is there any kind of way, and we want to send out a mass mail.
Okay, well, here's what we could do, is we could, if you can do copy paste, we have a list of all the ANC emails, like on a page, and you can copy paste into an email. Would that help? Okay, we'll do that, we can do that. That way you can blast all the ANC. Okay, no problem, let's do that. All right, so we're gonna move into, just real quick, we don't have a lot of time left for today. You know how these second Saturdays go by like that, right? I hope everybody appreciated the information from the commissioners, did you? It was a good dialogue.